Your Excellency, my good friend and brother, Monsieur Christian Kabore, President of FASO, Your Excellency, Prime Minister of the Government of the Republic of Niger, the founder of the Rebranding Africa Forum, dignitaries of Ghana and Burkina Faso, keynote speakers, fellow Africans. Founder, I thank you and the organizers for the invitation to come here and participate in this forum. This is my second visit to Burkina Faso since becoming President of the Republic of Ghana in January 2017. So to my good friend, His Excellency Christian Kabore, President of FASO, even though you were in Accra some 2 weeks ago, you owe Ghana another visit, so that we become even. Thank you for your warm welcome and continuing friendship. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, this forum has chosen a most relevant theme: challenges and opportunities of the green economy in Africa. Considering the circumstances we find ourselves in on the continent at the moment, it's very apt. Today, it is an undeniable truth that much of Africa is not at work. A large section is uneducated, an alarming proportion is unemployed, and almost all of it feels dependent. We have a young, restless population that is willing to brave the Sahara Desert on foot, and those who survive the ravages of the desert risk being sold in slave markets in Libya or risk journeys across the Mediterranean Sea on rickety boats, all in the hope of a better life in Europe, in countries and amongst peoples where they're obviously not welcome. Everybody in a position of leadership in Africa today has his or her work cut out. The urgent responsibility African leaders face is to make their respective countries and the continent attractive for our youth to see as places of opportunities. It means we must provide education, quality education and skills training. It means our young people must acquire the skills that run modern economies and thereby guarantee progress and prosperity for all. Your Excellencies, these modern economies are not dependent on the production and export of raw materials, but on value addition and industrialization activities in a diversified, increasingly digitized economy. This means that we must add value to our gold, cocoa, bauxite, and iron ore. Indeed, the time has come for us in Africa to develop strategic industries out of our abundant natural resources. The time has come for us to master the digital revolution and engage its assistance in the transformation of our continent. Once we begin trading with the world on the basis of the things we make and not on aid, we create wealth for our peoples. There will thus be no appetite for the youth of our countries to want to seek an allegedly better life outside of the continent. Education, skills training, and the provisions of jobs are essential elements of human well-being and ensuring social equity, which are important components of the making of a green economy. Whilst we tread the path of industrialization and seek to shed the cloak of being described as third world countries, we also have a responsibility to take care of our environment. Africa has the most spectacular natural surroundings, grandest of rivers and mountains. However, in our quest to develop, our beautiful lands and rivers are under threat. We're degrading our environment at an alarming rate. Once beautiful and thick forests have been denuded of their cover. Once majestic and awe-inspiring water bodies have been polluted, and many of the animals no longer have safe habitats. These are man-made problems and should be solved by man. This generation of Africans must understand that the degradation of the environment poses a threat to our very existence. As co-chair of the group of advocates of eminent persons of the 2030 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, I'm aware that the reduction of emissions from deforestation and forest degradation is at the heart of SDG 13, which requires that we take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts, and SDG 15, which requires us to protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, halt and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss. Agenda 2030, the target date for the completion of the SDGs, presents us with an opportunity, a great opportunity, to fight inequality on all fronts, wipe out extreme poverty, tackle the issues of climate change, and reverse the degradation and unsustainable use of our environmental resources. This agenda is an investment in our future, the future of our youth and that of our children. What would we make of our natural resources would be what determines our existence. I call on all gathered here and every African to rise up to the challenge. We cannot allow illegal logging and mining to continue. Security agencies on our roads, in our ports, and along our borders should not look on unconcerned and allow illegal timber products just to pass without confiscation or with corrupt purpose. Let us ensure that the fines and punishments that are pronounced on perpetrators of environmental degradation activities are deterrent enough and quickly delivered and effected. Yes, we must develop, and yes, we must industrialize. However, we're also obliged to leave our youth and our children with an enduring legacy of a richer, more stable, more secure, and more peaceful world. Your Excellency, this secure and peaceful world is being threatened by the activities of terrorist groups in the Sahel, as well as the activities of nomadic herdsmen. These terrorist groups have fed on the traditional threats to security in Africa and have unleashed terror on the citizenry in their attempts to stifle the freedoms and liberties enjoyed by our peoples. West Africa expresses its appreciation for the sacrifices of the Burkinabe people who are in the front line of the fight against terrorism and are helping to guarantee the peace and security, not just of their own country, but for the region as a whole. And we are all extremely grateful for the stance that you have taken. Collective efforts, therefore, should be made to address the factors that fuel the activities of terrorists on the continent, such as underdevelopment, poverty, corruption, inequitable access to resources, youth unemployment, poor governance, human rights abuse, climate change, weak law enforcement and governance institutions, and the lack of free and fair elections. The time has come for Africa to hold its rightful place on the world stage. The time has come for us to build an Africa that is able to look after her peoples through intelligent management of her resources, with which she has been richly endowed, embark on a new path. This path offers a new Africa. It is an Africa that will be defined by integrity, sovereignty, common belief, discipline, and shared values. It is one where we aim to be masters of our own destiny and establish an Africa beyond aid, an Africa which has discarded a mindset of dependence, aid, charity, and handouts. It is a new Africa that is self-reliant and determined to achieve its destiny of greatness. May God bless the peoples of Burkina Faso, Ghana, ECOWAS, and Mother Africa, and us all. I thank you for your attention.